different aspects of experience design. Okay, so click on my screen. Yep. So this is me here. I'm Mosope Adebowale. I'm super passionate about easy to use and accessible technology. And part of my career goals or my work as a designer is to ensure that the day-to-day tools that my users use, it's accessible, it's easy for them to use, and it can also drive our business goals. And my career experience, I started designing in 2008, and I freelanced for a bit. And I started designing while I was in school. After graduating in school, I started freelancing, and I freelanced for like about 4 years thereabout before I then joined Konga as a creative designer. When I joined Konga as creative designer, I spent about 3 years plus there, and before I joined Andela. And when I joined Andela, I joined as a visual designer, leading different design tasks. During my career there, I picked up UI design. I started learning UI design, but I realized that I didn't really have an understanding of what UX is. I was just designing pretty screens that made sense, and I needed to level up. So I took up some couple of courses, learned about user experience design properly. And when I moved to Canada, I pivoted my career and I joined KPMG as a user experience designer. And now I'm leading the design practice on user experience design. And I work with about 3 other designers, and we ensure that we're designing applications that tax people use within the business. So that's the introduction about me. And diving into the crux of the matter for today, I want to start by asking us, like, have you ever come across a badly designed product and thought to yourself, how on God's earth would I use this? I'm sure at some point in time, we've used tools, we've used real life things, and you just wonder, like, who was the person that designed it? Why is it so bad? And just to kind of prep you, let's walk through a couple of examples. Now, if you can see my screen, let's look at these 3 designs. What is wrong with these designs? They're badly designed. The first one is a toilet that has a glass door, and the toilet paper is outside of the toilet. Like, this is badly designed. How are you going to be able to use this bathroom? Like, if you have to take do your major and stuff like that, are you going to stand up and run outside to get the toilet paper? If someone comes into the bathroom, won't they see you doing your stuff? And in the second image, like this, so when the pandemic, and this is COVID times where we are required to stay 6 feet apart, but whoever did this stuff on the floor, and you can see the meme over there, thank God the virus can move sideways. You're not having the 6 feet. And in this other image, you can see the way the ATM is placed. Like, how the hell will anyone use this ATM with this stuff here? And I have a couple of other examples. Like, let's look at this remote control button. You have the power off button and you have a power button. Like, why do you have those 2 buttons? It makes no sense. And I'm sure you've used some doors before that you're not sure whether the door pushes or pulls. So you try to open it by pulling it first, and it doesn't open, and you push it back, and it can be really super frustrating. So if you look at this door, for example, it says push. So you don't know if you're going to push it or pull it, but when you get there, you struggle with it and look like an idiot for a bit before you go in. And looking at this, the form in the next screen, it's asking you, are you under the age of 18? And if you say yes, it then asks you, why are you under the age of 18? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. Another example we can look at here is the sign says, to release the door, press the green button. Unfortunately, there's no green button here. There's a label that says green button. Like, why? And this other one here too, the stadium was designed so that there are seats behind a pillar. Why would I want to sit down why would I pay money to see a game and be beside the pillar? Or you can see this other example of the ATM being the place that nobody can actually reach. Like, who the hell designed this kind of thing? And the last example that I would like to go through is, if you see this kind of bathroom, I can guarantee that you're definitely not going to use this bathroom. Like, if I sit down here, all your business is showing. And this other product over here, the fly and insect killer and cooking spray, they look super similar. So if there's no light, never takes light, and you want to put some cooking spray in your frying pan, and you then just take the insert killer button and spray it in there, well, we don't know what will happen. And this example, the bathroom has a mirror on the roof. So if anybody is standing outside, they can legit just see whatever you're doing in there. And if you're constantly thinking about how to make things better, UX is for you. Now, a misconception about user experience, when you hear about UI UX, your mind automatically goes to things like this: pretty screens, interfaces, and all that. But the process of design is it goes way beyond this. And that's why I showed you all those examples. Although those examples are not physical products, they're actually an experience that's designed badly. So this brings us to, what exactly does user experience design mean? User experience design is a process design teams use to create products that provide meaningful and relevant experiences to user. For user experience design, you might be designing a cup, you might be designing a biro, you might be designing a biro, you might be designing anything. The process of making that experience meaningful and relevant to users is what we call user experience design. And it involves the design of entire processes of acquiring and integrating products, including aspects of branding, design, usability, and function. If you design something and it doesn't function well, like I'll give you an example of something that we've heard, and I'm sure everybody on this call must have heard about it. Recently, the Nigerian government told people to go get their NINs, their national identity number. Now, they said you can find out if you have your NIN by, texting some BVN stuff like this. Now, the story part about it, if you text the BVN stuff, it gives you a NIN. But then the government now says you can't use that NIN, so you have to. So they're saying, like, they want you to do the process digitally. Now they're going to give you a form to print, fill, and take back to the office. Like, the entire process is just designed, and there's a lot of frustration. If they had a user experience design person, the person would easily be able to say, hey, what you guys are doing is not right, and it makes absolutely no sense. So that's one example there. User experience designers, what we basically do as designers is we make technology easier to use. Very simple. That's the aim of user experience design, to make technology easy and very simple. Now, within user experience design, there are many sub roles, and many people here might not have heard about it before. There's the role of a user experience designer. That is my role. And what my role basically does is, as a user experience designer, I understand the end-to-end process of creating products. I'll talk about that process very soon. The end-to-end process of creating a product, by doing research, by designing, by testing with users, by getting feedback. I'll talk about all those things as we go on. Now there is the role of a product designer. And the two roles, UX and products, people use them kind of interchangeably. But the truth about it is a product designer is different from a user experience designer. And when we talk about products here, we're talking about a digital product, like a digital tool. It can be a web application, it can be a mobile application. That's what the product is. So a product designer understands something called the product roadmap. And I'll give an example. When an application like Instagram that we all use and love, you notice that they keep adding new features. They keep adding new features to that application. The process of knowing what to add into the application, when to build it, and all that is what a product designer, that's what they kind of take charge of. They understand the future of that application. We have the role of a visual designer, and the visual designer just is concerned about the aesthetics, how beautiful the design is, how the screen looks okay, how, all the pixels, the colors, everything matches. There's the role of a user experience researcher, and this person does research to really understand the user's pain points, their problems, what problem they are solving. We have a content strategist who is, the job role is, person does a lot of writing, a lot of reading. They ensure that all the text that you see on those websites and applications, they make sense. We're not writing something that doesn't make any sense to people. And of course, you have the role of a unicorn, a person that can do every single thing that is on this table. They can do research, visual, content, products, and everything else. So these are the different roles within user experience design. Now, I'm sure you guys have you've been hearing UX, UI, UX, UI, and all that stuff. UX is user experience. UI is user interface design, which is visual design, and they are two different things entirely. And my aim of speaking on this call is to give some foundation onto what this is, so that if you decide that you want to be a designer and want to grow in that role, you understand what is expected of you, you know how to think like a designer, and you know what the deliverables that you need to get. Okay? So user experience design is all about the why, the what, and the how. So when like people design, like for example, I want to design an application on my mobile phone, I design Instagram and all that, there has to be people, as a user experience designer, you have to ask questions. Why am I designing this thing? What is the problem I'm solving? What are the motivations? What are the values? After you determine the why, then you go into the what. Like, what are the things that I need to showcase on this application? What do I need to put? Do I need to put pictures? Do I need to put, artificial intelligence? Do I need to put different things? What needs to be in there? And the how, like, how do I then go about this? Do I design a mobile application? Do I design a web application? Do I design a voice application? There's so many things, and the world is growing faster. We have virtual reality right now. We have augmented reality, all those things. What method can we use to solve these problems? So those are some of like the key things. As a user experience designer, you have to always keep asking why. Someone says, I want you to design something for me. Why should I design a cryptocurrency application? Why should I design a banking application? What is the problem we're trying to solve? So this takes me into the design thinking process. And if you are able to grasp the design thinking process, this sets the foundation of how designers behave, how designers think and how we go about doing what we design. The process of design is not just someone says, hey, I need this flyer or I need this poster. We don't do that. That's graphic design. It's a separate thing entirely. Someone can just come to you and say, hey, I want you to design an application for me. And you just open your tool of choice and start designing, and you give them, they go build, and it doesn't work. There's a process of design thinking, and the design thinking process, it provides a structured and scalable way to approach design problem. It's a methodology that was, designers in different industries, in the car industry, in the car industry, in the furniture industry, even in the way stores are designed, like, like all the ShopRites and all that. There's a design thinking process that kind of goes into it, and we're bringing that and applying that into design. So what is the design thinking process? If anyone has heard about this before, there are 5 steps, and it's not linear. The empathize, the define, the ideate, the prototype, and testing. And I'll explain what all these things are in the coming slides, but basically empathy is putting yourself in your user's shoes. Now, the images I showed you earlier of the ATM and stuff, if whoever built that thing empathize with users, they will know, for example, that, oh, the ATM you are designing is too high, no one can reach it. Or they'll empathize with the user that the toilet, you're putting a mirror on the top of the toilet, it makes no sense. But there wasn't any empathy, they just designed it, it looked great, but then it became crap. Then when you empathize about the problem, then you really define, okay, you know what problem am I trying to solve? What am I designing for? Once you have an understanding of that, then you then try to figure out, try to understand different possibilities. There are 1,000,001 ways to solve a problem. What methods can we use to solve that problem? Then after you finish like the ideation stage, you then come up with a prototype. A prototype is like a sample product. I'm sure, I don't know if you've seen people that, all these people that go around, they say, madam, we have this small cream, want you to test it. And that thing is, or if you go to all these like events, like Nestle, Pick Milk and Co, they just do those things. They'll, do Maggie, go, let people come and dance, or try this thing, try that thing. They're creating a prototype. They want to see how people would use it. And if they get good feedback or not, they can then say, hey, you know what, let's start producing millions of these things and shipping into the market. It's the same with design. You need to get the prototype, and most importantly, you need to test it with your users. If you just design something, nobody tests it, nobody uses it, nobody gives you feedback on how it looks like, you've not completed your design process. And I'll give some more insights as we go on in the slides. Now, the first stage of the design is empathy, or to empathize with the users. In order to create desirable and meaningful products or services, you need to understand who your users are and what they need. And once you understand, what your users need, from there you can then design a solution from them. Like if you have a child that wants something, you need to ask you, what do you need? Instead of just saying, oh, I think my child wants a Lamborghini, or I think my child wants an iPhone, and just go give them the iPhone. That may not be what they want. So, and there are different methods and techniques into going like you can use to understand the user's needs. One key one is user research, by conducting research and speaking to the users. Now, everything I'm giving here is high level. If we wanted to go into each of these things, the user research, the link canvas, computer analysis, journey maps, those are different lectures on their own. But tools like link canvas, user research, computer analysis, looking at what other people are doing. Like if you're designing an application for, let's say, to move people around, like a taxi application, there's Uber, there's Taxify, there are all those applications and Lyfts that people use. You can research these applications to see what have people done before, to kind of empathize and understand your own story. And there's a customer journey map, which basically means how do users, in the life cycle of doing a thing, how do users actually navigate and move? And I'll give an example. If you're designing an application where a user wants to speak with a doctor, how does a user in reality, how do they go to the hospital and see a doctor? Because you have to replicate the real life experience on an application so that it makes sense to people. So that's one thing about empathizing. The next stage is defining. So after you've gathered all the insights from the user research, you go through a process called synthesizing. You try to make sense of the information that is in there. And the goal is to formulate a problem statement. Now, if we look at the example towards the bottom right here, I took a screen grab from my portfolio. I was tasked to design an application that's a health application. That's what it is, consulting a doctor and all. And I could have just said, oh, an app to consult a doctor, and I started designing it. But I did some research, and I was then able to come up with this problem statement that says, how might we enable patients to easily access affordable health information and consultation? And with that problem in mind, you're then able to think ease of use is super important. I got this feedback from my research, and it has to be affordable. You understand? What methods can we use for the people to consult with a doctor? And this is different from a business outcome. So the business usually has their outcome. A company might come to you and say, hey, we want to design an application to allow people to make loans. Now, if people like the loan application and all that is what the business wants, but they need to now understand, why do people even need to take loans in the first place? What problems are they having with taking loans, and how can we solve that problem? Once you've put that in mind, you can then design a loan application that users can easily love. And I believe all of us on this call, we've used mobile banking applications that are horrible. And that's because someone, like, you are trying to, buy airtime. Sometimes you see people making mistakes and saying, oh my God, I loaded 100,000 credit on my phone. I loaded 10,000 naira credit on my phone. The reason why people are making mistakes is not because people are stupid. It's because whoever designed that experience designed it erroneously and didn't consider the user's pain points, the different use cases in that solution. And I'm not going to start mentioning applications right now, but you can, kind of think of many on your own that actually don't make any sense. And once you define what the problem is, you then go into the ideation state. Now that you have, there's an H over there, have a clear problem statement, it's time to get ambitious and explore unique solutions. And one way to go about this is your pen and paper, to start sketching out ideas. And it's super key as a designer. Like, your sketches don't have to be perfect. If I show you I have my personal notebook over here, and whenever I need to get some ideas out first, so I use this for my work, I use it for personal work and everything, and I kind of sketch out ideas. I don't know if you can see that on that tiny screen, but I sketch out my ideas, and it helps me to, before I start to use my design tools to visualize anything, I sketched out what are the possibilities. You knock things out, you can show people, get feedback, and iterate. It's very important. There's also a process called a design sprint, which is like a 5-day process of gaining insights. And it's rapid prototyping. You just keep designing something and trying it out to knock different ideas. You try multiple ways to solve a problem. And after you get some ideas, you create a prototype. Now, at this stage, things are getting more familiar. I'm sure you've seen images like this before that look beautiful, that look clean, on sites like Dribble and all that. You create something that users can actually use and go through can test. So landing pages, for example, static web app builds, design prototypes in tools like Figma, um, InVision, Marvel, and all. So tools like that enable you to create something that the user can actually use. Okay. Then after you have a prototype, the next thing and the key and important aspect of the user experience design process is to test with users. Now, I don't know anybody here that will go to a tailor and say, tailor, I have a wedding dress, so please, I'm getting married, sew me a wedding dress. And the day you actually wear the wedding dress is on your wedding day. Ladies on the call, I don't think anybody would do that. Like, you should wear it before the wedding day, test it out, and okay, I think there's a remaining time for Zoom. Okay, once it kicks us out, I'll stop talking and we'll rejoin again and pick up from there. So on this call, there's about like 8 minutes left. But after, if the call kicks us out, please join again with this Zoom link and we'll pick up from where we stopped. Okay. So you test your item, and the different methods of doing usability testing, moderated testing and unmoderated tests. So in-person interviews, you go to your friends and say, guy or babe, please, I've designed something. Can you try it out? Can you see if you can use it? Can you give me feedback? Does it make sense? You gather insights. And from there, you go back and say, okay, no, my user could not use this tool. They could not see what I wrote here. The text doesn't make sense. You go change it. Unmoderated is when you put it on some particular websites and they do the testing for you, get insights and all that. Pretty key. And like I said earlier, the design process is not linear. And I'll jump back for a bit over here. You might have gone through step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. You get to step 5. And you realize, oh my God, we've done something that doesn't make any sense. You go back to the starting point. You refactor your problem space, or you can test, then go back and ideate, do a prototype and test again. You can test, you can do a define. It's a very messy process and it's not linear. But at the end of the day, by doing those things, like gathering all those insights, you're able to come up with a product that actually makes a lot of sense and is usable to your users. Okay. Now, it's super important that you learn this basic idea and thoughts. In my early days during my career, if I knew about these things, I could have grown faster. But I believe that in our design journey, there are different things that it's part of our journey. So how to become a user experience designer, but it's pretty key. What can you do to actually become a user experience designer? One thing about user experience design is that it's a field that involves a lot of knowledge. You have to read, you have to listen to things and all. And these 2 books, I don't know if you're able to see my screen, these 2 books are really, really very super good books. If you want to get started in design, The Design of Everything, The Everyday Thing by Don Norman, and Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. So you can check online, there are PDFs that you can download. And once you download these particular PDFs, read them, they'll give you like a basic understanding so you can start thinking like a designer. And super important, you can learn on your own, but if you want to learn faster, take a user experience design course. Now in Nigeria, there are so many schools that offer design now. One of them is Pexels that I have over here, and another one is Utiva. Even though I've not gone through the Utiva course yet, so I don't know what is being offered there. But if you want to take some courses online, the Interaction Design Foundation has amazing courses if you can afford it. This course on Udemy by David Travis, it's a very good one. If you're able to scale through, it's to give you a solid understanding of what UX is. And Udacity also has a course on becoming a user experience designer. Some of these might be very pricey, but it's worth the investment if you're able to afford it. Putting that particular amount in learning those skills would pay off for you in the long run. Okay, and watch UX videos. Now, there's a couple of channels on YouTube that I follow, and they post content about design that I try to learn from. One of them is UX Mastery. There's a lady called Femke on YouTube. She posts very amazing videos on UX content. You should have a look at it if you're really interested in that. There is another designer called Charlie Marie, and she also posts, very great content on YouTube. There's the Future, which is like YouTube. They post all like more design content. And there's the Nelson Norman group, which are like, like Don Norman was actually the person that coined the term user experience design. So his company, they post super amazing content on UX. And when you're doing your free time, if you, instead of scrolling on Instagram and all that, just watch some of these videos to empower yourself. That is one way for you to learn. The other one is for you to read articles and get inspired. UX Collective is a website that people post different articles. You can easily search there for any topic you're looking for. Search for those topics in there. There's Dribble. If you're a designer on this call, you're really very familiar with Dribble. People post inspiration of work they've done. There's Behance also, which is like a collection of designs from people all around the globe. UX Matters is another blog too that has articles. They have articles in there that you can go read about, from beginner articles to complex articles. Also in the Inside Design by Envision blog and Medium. Medium has lots of articles, but you can always search for UX specific articles in there. And super important, learn the design tools. Now, this is where a lot of people kind of do some show off. They show I'm a Figma Pro, I'm a that Pro, I'm a this Pro. You can learn Figma, Adobe XD, Sketch, Envision, Miro. Super important, your pen and paper, which to me is like the most important tool out of all the other tools, because you might be able to come up with a fancy design, but if you don't understand the process of design, you're not able to come in and get things out there. So that's really very important. And join a UX community. Now, there are a couple of UX communities that I am part of, and there's a Figma Lagos group. You can join them. They have very nice sessions. There's the Amazing Design People list where you can get design mentors. And there's a Design Buddies team, which is a global team for designers. By joining a UX community, you can attend events, you can meet other designers, and you can speak to people you can also see people that are just starting the design journey, and you can grow together with those people. So really, really super important. Now, what are some other tips that I can give you in starting out? If you want to start as a UX user experience designer, I encourage you to network with other designers, either on LinkedIn, on Twitter, or wherever. LinkedIn is a very good place. Network with designers. If you can get some of their time to sit down and discuss. There are lots of tips on LinkedIn. If anyone here is not on LinkedIn, I will encourage you to be on LinkedIn. It's super powerful. Really, it's a very powerful platform. You can attend design events. That way you try to get knowledge of what is happening in the design community, meet designers. If you can try to find some volunteer experience, that would be great. There might be someone in your church, someone somewhere that needs some UX work. Take that project, jump right in, go in there, and when you learn skills, go in there and start to use that to do it. Find a mentor. This is very important. If you have someone in the design community that you can speak with that is already a designer, find them and let them guide you on what to do. Get feedback on your work. If you're learning on your own, it's not going to be easy to get feedback. But if you have someone, a designer that that you can say, hey, please, when you have some time, please check out my design. Give me feedback. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? That'll be very important. And the last one is to do dummy UX projects and challenges. Now, I know we have about less than a minute. I still have like about just 2 slides left. So I'll just go through them. And after we join back on the call, we can do take the Q&A. But my closing thoughts is a deep understanding of the UX process with empathy for users and good visual design will make you an amazing designer. By understanding the foundation of design, you empathize with users, and you have very good visuals, you'll be a super amazing designer. And even I am still learning. We're all learning and we're all growing. And that is it. Thank you very much.